Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast. Let's get it going out there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out there of the world. Welcome on into the Sports Buffoons podcast here, based out of Lenexa, Kansas. Once again, out of the studios. I am joined here with my boy Tanner Dawson. How you doing, man?
What's going on, everybody?
And our boy Jason JG. He's actually.
We weren't supposed to start the show yet, right?
No. Well, we kind of have to. I mean, he thought about being on here. He's actually in Las Vegas right now, so enjoying himself. I'm sure a few cocktails along the way out there in Las Vegas, partying with a friend, enjoying a birthday party. So he will be back. I'm guessing next week.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. Well, it's all right. We enjoy watching our people go out there, have a good old ball, good old time. We hope to hear back from him soon, though, because honestly, if you're in Vegas for too long, then you're going to find yourself in some trouble. So. Let's hope everything's going smoothly out there in Vegas for JG.
And if you watch the show for the last couple of years, we got to hear from him. So.
You know that there's a chance something could go wrong. That's the way we're going to put it that way. So, but guys, we got a lot to get into today. Of course, we're going to talk some fantasy football with you guys. We're going to talk about some college playoffs later on in the show. Of course, we have to dig into the Chiefs for just a few minutes. And Tanner probably has a surprise for us at some point in the show. We'll see how this thing unfolds.
I mean, I normally have a random one going into play. Hunter, what's going on, dude? It has been a while. Appreciate you coming in. Hopefully all things are going well. Hopefully your fantasy football season's going well since, we chatted before the season starts. So glad to see you coming back in.
Hey, this is a good one for Hunter to be on with us because
it is.
We're diving into fantasy here in just a second.
It's a perfect time for him to reunite.
Mm-hmm.
With me and the Buffoons and so we got a guy on coming on, Scott Cobe. You guys might know him. Let's Talk Sports Game Day show. He's on with Nick, Johnny, and I every Sunday morning before game day. Talk a little fantasy football, talk a little sports betting as well. So it's always great to have him on. So hopefully we can give you guys some good stuff. So
speaking of sports betting, we'll be getting to our easy money picks of the week here later on as well. So. That'll be good news.
10-4 is a good record.
First and foremost, though, as you guys know, if you've been following along with at all over the past couple of years, we're going to kick it off with, what are you sipping on? What are you sipping on for the show today? I got myself a 90-minute IPA.
Ooh.
That's a big dick, Tanner, but I'm mainly curious about what you're sipping on.
I got using my machine, guys. If you haven't seen them on Whiskey Sports podcast, TikTok, my, Bartesian machine, got myself an old fashioned, not super strong like I did the first time. It's actually really delicious, really tasty, just as a regular amount of liquor. So got myself the old fashioned, looking at a Long Island this weekend maybe.
Yeah, I remember last week you made me a margarita and you did the strong setting.
Well,
and that about knocked me on my ass. That was right before the show too.
True. So you're a guy that it takes a lot for a liquor to hit.
Are you saying I'm high tolerance?
You are.
What does that mean?
So I was like, well, a regular shouldn't do nothing to you because it's probably just going to taste like water. So wow. I had to make sure I up it for.
Tell the people how you really feel about me.
I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah, it's legit. It's legit.
And
it makes some strong drinks.
Has water. Hunter's
got water.
Keep it up, man.
Keep up the water. Full-fledged. Go for it, man. Very nice. All right, well, Tanner, let's introduce our boy.
Yeah.
And get on to some fantasy talk.
So you guys all know him here. If you follow me at all on the Let's Talk Sports Network, we'll bring in Scott. Go. What's up, dude?
Not much. How you guys doing? It's money time.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Money time. I like the way it says
big weekends, final round of NFL season before the playoffs start, and we're in the middle of the fantasy football playoffs now, just beginning this week for almost everybody.
Yep.
And this is where a lot of the leagues, you're starting to look at, maybe a one win and then you might get some money, going to play. And who doesn't like that when you're playing fantasy football?
Absolutely. I just finished my high stakes league playoffs and I won that for $4,000. So,
ooh, yeah.
I'm nice and excited about that check.
Very nice.
Oh man, I love that. I mean, I got a couple leagues myself. One, I'm the number one seed in a Roto Baller league. Chance to win $500 grand prize. with that. So as long as everybody performs, we should be all right. But
Absolutely.
the last couple of weeks have been a little scary for me. Well, I think we're back on the trend. We got good matchups.
Yep.
And then the league I'm here with Mike, I snuck in to that final spot after what would you call that showing last week from all my players?
Well, look,
An uneventful.
It was fine. It was fine. Here's
very
the thing,
disappointing.
Tanner. I think you're discrediting yourself. You say you stuck in. You have a very good record. You didn't sneak in. My league is a very competitive league.
That's the issue.
You didn't sneak in. You have a good record, man. You have 9 wins on the season, right?
Yeah, correct.
You're fine. And you didn't sneak in. You didn't get lucky.
I felt like I snuck.
You deserve to be in the playoffs right now. So I'm all about it. I'm saying this because I have the bye week, so I'm just like, hey, you chilling over here. I got the bye week, so I'll get to sit back and see what the hell unfolds with our leagues. So I'm rooting for Tanner, though. I want Tanner to get the victory this weekend.
I need the victory this weekend.
Yeah.
Get some confidence back in this. So, but obviously, with that being said, on my side, things, one big key is injuries going into play. We saw some upside with Kenneth Walker being, off the injury designation. Sounds like he'll return this week, which is perfect for me. But on the downside for me, Damian Pierce for the running backs. Sounds like he might be out a couple games, which does hurt. Probably a lot of a majority of owners. Fantasy football owners in that case. Do you have any great substitutions into that Damian Pierce to start?
So I think Houston's going to go with Rex Burkhead, which doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that he's going to take off right where he left off. The one guy I like is Jerick McKinnon from Kansas City.
Okay.
I think he is starting to – he's definitely has that pass-catching back role going. For him, and he had a huge game against Denver last week. So you're looking at him, and as last year pointed out, Jerick McKinnon was the guy down the stretch for Kansas City. So he would be the ultimate guy to go get.
It's interesting you say that about McKinnon, actually. And yeah, he had a really great week this past week against Denver in the receiving game. Yep. But the Houston Texans are giving up the most rushing yards allowed per game to all running backs. And so coming into a situation where you got Isaiah Pacheco, who is the primary rushing back for the team right now. Yep. If you had to pick between the two, if you're in that situation by any means, I mean, would you go Pacheco or would you actually go McKinnon, like you're saying?
I would probably go Pacheco
because of the volume. I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fantasy, volume is king.
Yeah,
volume is king.
So even though he only had like 2 carries in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Last week against the Broncos, you would still go Pacheco, knowing that at any time, Andy Reid could, basically bench him.
Absolutely. I'd slightly lean to Pacheco, as we said a couple of seconds ago, volume.
Yeah, and Pacheco should be getting 20 carries in this game at least.
Yeah. You would think,
and like I said, it is against the worst rush defense in the NFL, so there's really no excuse for Pacheco not to have it. Right around 100 yards, probably a touchdown, something along those lines. And that's bare minimum, I would assume.
Right.
The Houston Texans are giving up 165 yards on the ground per game. So, but McKinnon, I'm guessing you like him because you're starting to see him be integrated more as the back end of the season is coming along. And obviously this past week was a huge confidence booster. And the team sees stuff like that and they go, hey, this guy helped us a lot last year down the stretch. We see him now really coming on strong at this point. And so you see him wanting to be worked into the offense more. So I totally get you on that too, man.
Yeah, and what's the Chiefs' tendency overall is to throw the football.
Passing the
ball.
Put
the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands and throw it. But I think that you're going to see Pacheco start to run a little bit more here. I think they're going to get a little bit more balance down the stretch here and give teams that are in the playoffs a different kind of look. Well, they're going to run the ball here. They're going to throw it. What are they going to do? So they're going to try to get a little bit more balanced as the colder weather starts to come in, and then the playoffs start, obviously. So
nice.
All right. There was some news today, too, with the playoffs starting that I think a few owners are probably relieved on, that Waller and Hunter Renfrow are returning or designated to return. Do you put any stocks into this Raiders offense, the way it's been the last – 3-4 weeks?
I am with these two because now I think Derek Carr can kind of spread the ball a little bit more around where it was just Devontae.
I don't want that. I just want Devontae.
Yeah, exactly. I do too, because I have him on a couple of my high stakes teams. So, but I think it will help Devontae out, because I think what's going to happen now is if Waller and Renfro can get the ball, 5 to 7 targets every game here, then defenses are going to start to maybe slack off with Devontae just a tad, enough that Devontae can catch what he did, those long passes a couple games ago against the Chargers. So I think it's going to help Devontae. I think it's also going to help Josh Jacobs to have Renfro and Waller back. Are they going to be effective against the Patriots this week? I don't know. But I think that Josh Jacobs, who is banged up a lot, he was in a red non-contact jersey at practice today. So that gives me a little pause in terms of him. But I think it's going to help the whole Raiders offense overall to have their weapons back. So,
any comment on that?
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I pretty much like everything you're saying there, and this makes sense. It's a logical point of view, I would say, coming into that situation with the Raiders. So, yeah, to me, I mean, I would expect Derek Carr to have a nice game, of course. I think that even though the season is over for the Raiders, by all means, I think that they still want to build on something. They still want to take something away from this season and say, okay, what can we have coming into next year? Because right now, I mean, you're assuming Derek Carr is still going to be your quarterback going into next year. You're assuming you're going to still have these pieces. You're still going to have Renfro and Waller and Adams going into next year. We're assuming those things right now.
Yeah.
And so you want to build on something. You want to have something kind of confidence booster, at least for these next few weeks to finish up the season. And I think you might as well just get out there and start slinging it if you're the Raiders at this point.
Absolutely. And if the Raiders can get to 8-7-8, that 6 and 7 seed aren't exactly locks for these teams that are there right now. Patriots are 7 seed. They're 7-6 right now. Chargers are right outside the playoffs. They're 7-6. The Jets, they're around 500 too. So if the Raiders can get hot again and win 2 or 3 games in a row here, they can work themselves back into a chance at the playoffs. Not saying they're going to make it, but a chance. So,
yeah, they'll at least fight for it. At least I'll give them credit. They're going to fight. They're going to try.
Yeah, we got Carlos commenting in. Carlos, appreciate you commenting as always. Can McDaniels not lose the game in the last possession? Look, I can't say anything else. Like, we already talked about this last Thursday night on the post-game show, where I'm not even like, I'm blaming partially the coaching staff, but I blamed Derek Carr in this mess. Plain and simple. The guy who's been around, for around, what was it, 9 years now or something like that?
He was drafted in 2013.
13. So plus, right? And that's where I come into play. I don't think it's McDaniels losing it. I think it's Derek Carr.
But you have to also understand that, Tanner, we talked about this in the offseason here on this show. Josh McDaniels is a guy that has a lot to prove in this league.
Huge.
He failed in Denver and ended up going back to New England again, of course.
Yep.
And, looking at the situation with the Raiders, this was a pretty talented team. The Raiders are a pretty talented team. Yes, they've had a couple injuries to some key players. I get that. But really, there was no excuse for what's happened here this season, and especially how poorly they've played considering the talent they've had. And so you got to have some blame on McDaniels because
I'm not saying all of it, though.
The guy, I mean, Andy Reid took a team who was 2-14 and made them a playoff contender or made them a playoff team the very next season.
He went out and got his guy, too, with Alex Smith.
In 2013.
Yeah.
And do not forget, he botched that Colts situation 2 or 3 years ago before Frank Reich got the job. He was on his way to India to take the job.
He was.
And Belichick and Kraft got him in a room, I guess, and convinced him to stay. So he totally botched that situation too. So,
as a leader, as a head coach, I'm a non-believer at this point in McDaniels because I have no reason to believe in what he presents. So as much as we want to look at Derek Carr and blame him on everything, McDaniels deserves blame on this situation too, because this defense should have been better. This offense definitely should have been better. And look at them now. I mean, it's not a good team, and they're not going to be in the playoffs. So that's the way it is.
So there's an interesting. I don't think we touched on it Sunday with you when you got on there, but something I'm curious about for maybe. Who am I trying to think of? The Falcons receiver,
Drake London.
Drake London, thank you.
Yeah.
Drake London, owners. You had Desmond, was it Desmond Riddler?
Desmond Ritter, yeah.
Starting now in place of Mariota, who's now on, I think, IR for knee surgery. So, I mean, is there more hope that London gets his targets, or is there what are we looking at here with this matchup against New Orleans?
I think there's more hope. Marshawn Lattimore very limited today in practice. I don't know if he's going to play. Abdomen issue, but I think the precursor to what London's going to finish his year off with happened right before the bye. He had 6 catches, 95 yards. So I think the precursor to what they want to do offensively is get London the ball early, open up the defense, and then run the ball. So I think Drake London is going to have a nice end of the year finish. And if he's on a waiver wire because people just dropped him because they had enough of him, pick him up. Pick him up. You could start him as a flex this week. It's not out of the realm of possibility. They're going to have to throw the ball probably in New Orleans to win that game. And the way Tampa Bay is playing right now, they still have a shot to win this division. So,
yeah, I like that one. My biggest question for you, Scott, is there's one guy in my league who actually texted us as a group here asking about this. He wants to start 4 running backs in this league. And the reason being, he has Zonovan Knight on his team from the Jets.
Okay.
This sudden up-and-comer Zonovan Knight, who actually led the team in carries or touches this past week, actually. And it's a guy who, most people don't know who the hell this guy is. I mean, we cared about Breece Hall. I mean, all that kind of stuff. We didn't really give a damn about who Zonovan Knight was until literally a week or 2 ago.
Right.
And so he's obviously he's like complaining about his flex spots, whatever. But my question to you is this a guy you would trust in this situation? If you're a playoff team right here in week 15, which most playoffs begin this week, I think. If you're a playoff team in this situation, is this a guy you would trust going into the week? Do you believe in Zonovan Knight, what he can present volume-wise? And that's something you and I both agree on, I think, is volume. Yep. Is this going to be a good play for most teams?
And note they're against Detroit at home, Detroit,
which is going to put up points. Detroit's going to put up points. They do have actually a pretty solid offense. We all know that now.
Yeah.
Is Knight going to be the guy?
I believe so. Salah said 2 weeks ago he's not going anywhere. And Michael Carter was back last week, and he still got the volume. So he's not going anywhere. And the Jets are in that playoff push. And he's a key reason why that they the last 3 weeks are in this playoff push, along with Mike White. So I think you should start him. I really think against Detroit, he'll have a really good game. And if he scores a touchdown, it's going to be a top 5 to 10 running back week for him. So, and the Detroit thing, I will say this, home Jared Goff and road Jared Goff are 2 different quarterbacks. He's not great on the road. That Jets secondary is for real. They are ferocious. They caused Josh Allen many problems up in Buffalo last week, along with the little weather that they had. But that secondary is really good for the Jets. So I think Jared Goff could have some issues this week.
All right. Going to play. Let's view some comments real quick. Carlos says Davis needs to take a break from his lady friends and make sure his GM gets her all started to make moves. Classic Carlos right there. Hunter says he picked up Christian Watson a few weeks ago. How did you pick him up? Who let him go?
Who let him go?
Well, some people were getting annoyed by his inconsistency in the beginning of the season.
Well, I guess the drops and everything until he blew up.
Right. It took him a while, and I was kind of caught fire. Yeah.
So, Carlos here says Mariota is not near team, and Arthur threw him under the bus. Situation is interesting. Besides crediting numbers, but Arthur having issues with the junk line trying to save his face. That's true. Yep. He's trying to save his job right now, because I don't see how he's under the gun already, but never know with that situation. I guess with all the injuries at quarterback, right? So you got Kyler Murray now out, Lamar Jackson's out. Here, yeah. Mike White's banged up. Like, do you trust Mike White this week? Tyler Huntley is also banged up. He was out after what it was like a drive last week,
I believe.
And he's going against Cleveland, against a division opponent. Which worries me as a Lamar Jackson owner, Tyler Huntley owner. So, and then Brock Purdy, of course, doing amazing things there in San Francisco. Any of these backups interest you into a must start this week?
Must start, no. Chance, Mike White, yes, against Detroit. If he plays the whole game, which I'm hoping he does. Brock Purdy interests me a lot. He really played well last week, and beating Tampa Bay the way they did. So he interests me. Seattle, I think, is on that downward slide right now. I just don't like what they're doing on defense. I think even without Deebo Samuel, I think Juwan Jennings is a serviceable backup for them to replace Deebo. So I'm thinking Brock Purdy's going to have a solid game this week. If you have Kyler, try to pick up Purdy and start him tomorrow night against a weaker Seattle defense that's sliding. The other guy I would look at is Matt Ryan against Minnesota. I know he hasn't been great, but Matt Ryan, Minnesota gives up a lot of yards to receivers. So I think Matt Ryan could have a pretty good game this week. So
that means Michael Pittman too.
Michael Pittman, right?
Yep, I think so too. I mean, look at what Minnesota gave up to Detroit last week. DJ Chark had over 90 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a good game. Jameson Williams caught the 41-yard touchdown pass. So they give up a lot of production to wide receivers. So and that starts with the quarterback. So
you got any other questions?
Well, how about this? Do you have any one particular sit-em this week? Someone who has a bad matchup? If you're a playoff team and you're in a situation where you have a guy you've maybe played half of your games here and there that is in a bad situation, anyone come to mind?
Mike Evans. I mean, I've been saying him on Sunday morning show. I just don't think Brady has the time in the pocket with the offensive line problems. That's gonna make him a top 10, top 15 wide receiver. DeAndre Swift is the other guy. I don't know what's going on with him. He was cleared off the injury report last week, and he did nothing in that game. So he worries me a lot this week in terms of any production to get. And the other guy is Raheem Mostert in Miami. Jeff Wilson's probably going to be out this week. Buffalo's defense is really, really good. I think Mostert could be in for a tough time, and it's going to be 6 inches of snow in Buffalo this Saturday night. So that's another reason why I'm kind of off of those guys this week. So
nice, I love it, man.
Are they going to move this game to Detroit?
No,
I wish they would, but they're not going to unless it picks up to like 2 feet of snow. So
look, see here when we do our easy money bets later tonight. I picked last time, Buffalo in the Buffalo in.
Was that the Jet? No, it wasn't.
It wasn't Jets. It was somebody else. But
this was like 3 weeks ago.
I picked the under right before and then the next day they get moved to Detroit. So there goes my bet for the week.
I had the over,
and he had the over.
So we sat here on this podcast. I go, I'm taking the over no matter what.
I'm like,
screw the weather.
Like, there's no way they move a team away just because of weather.
Right.
Sure enough, here we go to Detroit, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm not touching this game this week because they're, who knows? They might move to Detroit for all we know. So,
Tanner, he already had the information. He just didn't want to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. He knew about his inside sources. Oh, man. All right, Scott, man. Well, we'll let you go. We appreciate you hopping on, talking fantasy football playoffs with us.
Anytime,
I'm sure we'll talk on Sunday. So,
absolutely. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Tanner, I love hearing insight like this from guys like Scott on the show because, fantasy is one of those things you and I care about a lot. We obviously have our teams, and we have other people. Ryan Larison is a huge fantasy fan and stuff like that. But I really like people who literally dig into it week in, week out. And have a strategy. He said he even won $4,000 recently off of fantasy football. So I mean, that stuff is awesome. And
how cool is that? Like,
I'm saying I love fantasy football. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think Kansas having sports betting now here in the state has been awesome as well. I think some people have forgotten how fun fantasy can be when you're really invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many people out here now have kind of been like, yeah, but now we have sports betting and really to spend all their time worried about that, and they forget about fantasy football. It's like, nah, dude, if you're really invested in fantasy football and wanting to have an awesome team, the payoff is just so worth it. Like to have success in fantasy. So
No, yeah,
that's
it's
my thought.
like it's a great combo for me,
Right.
and you too, because we got the best of both worlds finally
Right.
going into play, and that's what I like about it.
We've had a lot of people. I've had a lot of people to tell me they're distracted from fantasy because of betting now
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
on bets. So,
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
Let's hit some comments real quick here. Let's see here. Mind you, Atlanta has Carlos with losing record without Mariota. So with all the bad Mariota's got still over 70% QB rating. Mike White should sit, probably based off his injury, Carlos. But you know what? If you got put in the game 3 times or whatever it was last week, you might as well start. Judd's already lost this game.
Yeah.
He'll play the practice QB, but stay away from. Yeah, Wilson is named the backup now.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I had Pierce a few times, solid pick, 6 points. But if your roster's hurting, yeah, it's true.
I will say I'm a little surprised that Scott mentioned early on in his comments about how Rex Burkhead was not someone that he wanted to necessarily invest a lot in or believe in for this week against the Chiefs, even though he probably will get the majority of the touches. Correct. With Pierce being out. Because I mean, this is probably going to be a high-ish scoring game. The Chiefs have no reason not to put up 30 plus on them. The Texans could probably put up, anywhere from 17 to 20 something on the Chiefs. That's a possibility. But you're going to play from behind most of the game for the Texans. I feel like Burkhead is a solid receiving back. I feel like he would actually be a decent option for this week in particular. But on the ground, I would expect literally 10 yards rushing from Burkhead. Like, they're not going to be running the ball.
No, they're not.
They're going to get out there and try to pass the ball 50 times and see what the hell happens. Is what's going to happen with the Texans, I think. So, yeah, it's going to. The Chiefs will find a way to keep it within 7 points, though. They'll find a way to make that happen.
I think they will.
Andy will make it happen in some way. The Chiefs will.
It's going to be a lot closer than we all think. Or
right.
all want.
That's the scary part. That's the scary part for damn sure.
What we don't like. Well, we're just doing a fantasy segment here going to play. We'll wait a little minute for easy money bet.
Yeah.
So
let's wait a minute.
I guess, do we want to go over a little bowl game action this weekend?
Yeah, let's go over bowl games. I think you're more on top of this than I am as far as the organization of what's going on, team versus team. I'm excited to watch everything unfold because bowl season is fun, man. Bowl season is literally it's always around New Year's, which New Year's is always a lot of fun anyway. It's also really fun when you got teams like Missouri who are terrified to play against Kansas. That's also a pretty fun and sad situation to be in if you're the Missouri Tigers. So
how nuts is that? You know what I mean? Like, KU team that hasn't won in October or November, has to now go play in December, where they haven't won since 08. 09 or no 08. We didn't win it. I don't think we won it in 09.
Here's the thing. Now no one cares. Now no one cares, Tanner, is the problem. You had the perfect matchup. You had a crappy Mizzou team versus an overrated KU team. They could have battled on that Liberty Bowl that everyone wanted to see. KU, MU, and Mizzou pussed out and I wanted no part of it. And that's a sad thing for me. Just in general, because KU and MU played this past weekend in basketball, and I was, for the first time in my entire life, I was glad KU won that game because Missouri deserved 9-0 to get destroyed.
Missouri. And how great was it for KU to show them that, hey, you're 9-0, but you're not 9-0.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, it was a joke. I mean, hey, to be fair, it was similar to KU going on their little 5-game win streak earlier on in the college season in football too.
Hey, that's like a national championship right now for us.
But I digress. So anyway, let's talk about teams that actually matter.
Bowl seasons are fun.
Let's talk about real football, not this other patty cake stuff.
So I did this with Nick and Jim on Monday night on the Buffoon and Bakken show, but we didn't quite go over. We went through Monday. So today we're going to go over through Wednesday, through our next show on Wednesday. And we'll do a little bit of bowl predictions. We'll give our takes into it, any extra details that you may have. But I think I'm excited to go over this with you. And I might have different picks from Monday, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I might have different picks. So, if you really want to hold me accountable, yell at me. Put it in the comments. So But let's go over this here. I'll bring her up on screen as you see the list down the way. So what I'll do here is all this probably is I'm going to give you the most up to date.
Is that all the games?
That's all the we got, and then this little bit right here through Wednesday.
Look, I'm not picking every game, Tanner.
You don't want to pick every game?
I don't want to pick every game.
Why not? That's the fun part.
Let's pick the teams that matter.
Okay. Well, some of these are pretty cool games, but whatever. So I'll give you.
Look, I'm still gonna watch them.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the big ones. How about that?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Okay. So the first one's the Cure Bowl. UTSA 11-2, Troy 11-2 go and play. Both teams on fire right now. You can find the best spread at +2 for UTSA at was that Sugar Hill or whatever, and Troy has a +1.5 over there on DraftKings right now. So there's a lot of mix here. I'm looking at Betting Pros, by the way, for best bet. So you're looking at pretty much a pick 'em in this game if you're looking for a spread. So, but what I guess who would you have in this game?
I'd probably go with Troy on this one. Just given circumstance, they're technically the home team in this game. Not that that matters at all in a bowl game,
Right.
of course. But I mean, they both had the exact same record, so it's one of those. It really is it's a coin flip. So what I would do on a game like this is I wouldn't bet a whole lot of money on this kind of game. Like it's a coin flip. I would bet bare minimum. I'd probably bet $5 at the most on this kind of thing on one side, or maybe even take the over under.
Over under is 55.5.
Right, and so
I like that.
In that case, it's arguable either way. Of course, I'd probably take the over on that.
Yeah,
which sounds wild, but I would definitely take the over.
Troy has both teams have a really great run game for these respective teams, and so I think it's gonna be a pretty heavy running kind of game. So I'd almost take the under in that for me.
But it's gonna be an offensive game.
Big time!
Like both these teams know how to score points.
Yeah.
And so even though it's a run-based game,
that's why they're
maybe it's a faster pace, but at the college level, things are slower.
That's true.
Than in the NFL level or than any other level for that matter, because the game just runs slower. Like the average NFL game from noon to end time is like 3 hours and 10 minutes. College goes on for 4 hours.
Let's see here. Carlos has UTSA, says Troy will battle, but UTSA and Fuego. 5 to 10. Don't make this bet this difficult. Now I'm with you. I like Troy too. I'm pretty sure that's who I picked on Monday. Just for the fact that I feel like Troy lately has been more of a powerhouse going into place for this game. So give me Troy over UTSA. Going to be a fun game. That is a 2 p.m. game, by the way. So if you're playing some bets, get out of the way in the morning. So next up, Las Vegas Bowl, Florida Gators, Oregon State Beavers, 6-6, 9-3. You're looking about a 10-point spread currently for each of these teams. So, and Oregon State, of course, being the favor. Who do you got?
Well, I normally like going for the historically better team in situations like this. So a part of me wants to go with the Gators, but I got to go with the logical choice. I got to go with Oregon State in this game. They make more sense. I mean, they finished the season 9-3. Florida 6-6.
They beat Oregon. Oregon State beat Oregon to kick him out of the Pac-12 championship.
They're the better team without a doubt. So
by far.
And I want to say there also is a regional bias in this. You have one team it's being played in Las Vegas.
Correct.
You have one team going from Florida all the way over to the West Coast. Meanwhile, Oregon is just going a small little trip down the road, it seems like, down to Vegas from their state. So to me, I think that actually does play a factor in a lot of ways. Travel time makes a difference in a lot of sports. Yeah, I got Oregon State without a doubt. I don't know that I would necessarily take the spread of 10.5. But if I did, I would probably lean towards Oregon State covering that.
You know, I was thinking about that too. I think I would take the spread of 10.5.
Covering
the 10.5. Just for the fact that the way they ended the season, beating Oregon like they did, and having to play that tough defense in Florida, who's been so inconsistent in the season, against teams they should be. I mean, this team actually should be probably 9-3 as well. But they're just too inconsistent. They can't run the offense like they should. So I like Oregon State, of course, coming in this game. And I think they do cover that 10.5. Next up here, Cincy in Louisville in the Fenway Bowl. Louisville is currently a -2, over under 40.
Over under's 40, huh? It's an interesting line that they
I like
set
that
up.
over.
Yeah, that's an interesting line that they set that on that one. I would go towards Cincy on this one. This is a good program. Louisville still has a ways to go as far as being consistently a good program. I feel like Cincy's found their way as being a just kind of a consistent program here in the past few years. I'm going to go ahead and take them on this one, and they finished off 9-3 compared to 7-5. So I'll take Cincy to take a win.
I like Cincy too. I know Louisville had a couple good wins, but Cincy had a couple losses early on. But I think the way they've caught fire the last half of the season, I think that continues into this game here. So I like Cincy. If they even got a new head coach, right? So why not end your season and get things going? So let's see here. My next one for you is it's not big teams, but it is a Tuesday game. Give me Liberty Toledo. Liberty 8-4, Toledo 8-5. Liberty beating Notre Dame towards the end of the season. Kind of starting making a name for themselves. Seems like when they are going a pretty high-powered offense. Toledo, the other hand, I think they caught just plain out fire in the MAC games going through. Or WAC, sorry. But I think both of these teams are pretty dead even. It is Toledo -5 currently, over under 54. I like the over in this game. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I actually had a bet on Toledo 2 weeks ago in their game, and it turned out pretty well for me. So I like what Liberty's doing, but you don't got your guy Malik anymore. Malik's gone.
I forgot.
Yeah, but Toledo I think is probably going to be the better team. It's also an established team, and if you've noticed here, the last few things I've said is about theme of who's been established more recently in college football. And I like to veer towards teams who have a great foundation, and what they're going to do successful wise has a lot to do with that. I think that having a good foundation makes a big difference. So to me, Toledo is definitely the pick here. Sitting 8-5 compared to Liberty's 8-4. Toledo is just one of those teams now that's been around long enough, consistent enough, good team every year, it seems like. I like Toledo to win this one for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually kind of aiming with you. I forgot about Malik there. So give me Toledo. Just I think as of recent, the most consistent team for this. So give me Toledo. I think that's all I'm going to have for you, Mike, for names wise going to play. There will be more next week that I can throw out at Jason too and just get his picks.
Well, you gave me a bunch of turds. I mean,
there's
anything deeper into the schedule, Tanner?
Well, I don't want to talk about like next week's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
See,
games.
all I care about is K-State playing against Alabama.
That's not till like a while, dude. That's not till next.
You're gonna make me wait to talk about that?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, that's all I cared about.
I want you to build it up.
No,
we're gonna talk about it next Wednesday.
I want to watch it now. I don't want to watch about these turd teams. I want to watch real football right now with some badass teams. And
hey, don't hate on the smaller schools.
No, I'm looking forward to Michigan and TCU and Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one.
Bama and K-State. That's the stuff I'm looking forward to. So
yeah, no, we'll talk a little deeper on next Wednesday on the rest of the stuff. So, but this is kind of the initial stage of it all, and then we'll talk some more games next week. But that's kind of what I just want to get your thoughts then on a few games going into play here.
All right, I guess we'll take it 1 week at a time then.
1 week at a time.
Well, JG, if he's back next week,
it's gonna be so much fun.
You can't be asking him questions about college teams.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. He won't even know where to begin on any of this stuff. So, I mean, like for him, it's going to be like talking a foreign language.
What's their record? What's the spread? What's the record?
You're going to hear a lot of BS coming from his mouth in that case. So I'd rather just not say anything at all about that stuff.
We'll work something in. So,
all right. Well, Tanner, let's talk for just a moment, if you would like.
Yeah, I'm up for whatever.
About the Chiefs. Because we've kind of breezed over the Chiefs, I would say, the last month or so. It feels like in my heart, anyway. Meanwhile, I would just love to talk Chiefs every single second of my life. But the reason I say this and want to talk about this is because I'm a little concerned right now. I'm a little concerned about the situation unfolding with the back end of the defense in Kansas City. And, there's a lot of youth there. There's lot of young guys. We got a lot of rookies playing on the field at any given moment on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not worried about the offense at all. The Chiefs, they're going to have Kadarius Toney back very soon. Mecole Hardman will be back very soon.
Yes.
Offense is going to be looking just fine going into the playoffs. But defensively, I look at the Chiefs' current situation on the back end and how they just allowed 4 passing touchdowns to the Denver Broncos, who had only had like 3 passing touchdowns over the past 2 months going into this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm concerned because I don't see enough turnovers happening on the defensive side of the ball. I see young guys getting beat too frequently. And now I'm looking at this and comparing it to, we know what a Super Bowl contender is supposed to look like. We know what a Super Bowl team looks like. We know what a Super Bowl defense looks like. We've experienced it. We've witnessed it. It wasn't that long ago, even though it was before COVID, which feels like an eternity ago. The good life.
True.
The good life before COVID
True.
began. Before the lockdowns and everything else that fucking came along with that. But we know what everything looks like. We know what to expect. I think we need to figure out something very quickly regarding the secondary on this team, because it's looking soft. Thornhill's looking soft.
Oh my.
Justin Reed has looked soft at times.
He has.
We're seeing some real deficiencies in guys like Jalen Watson here and there. Williams gets beat here and there. Look, they're rookies. I'm going to give them some.
That's what I'm
benefit
saying.
of
Like,
the
there's
doubt.
a lot of young guys. Do you think
Trent McDuffie,
the rookie in him, the inexperience is starting to come out for those corners?
Yeah.
Like we're showing like it's a longer season than just college, right? So now you got your stamina, you got you're beat up at this time of year. And for new guys, some of these new guys, it's not a cake, walk in the park for them. So, but I think you're right. Like we're seeing guys that should be ready to go. Juan Thornhill, Justin Reed. Very disappointing.
It's scary because as good as this team can be, it feels like because of the lack of experience on the back end of the defense, that's going to cost us the playoffs. That's going to be the situation that unfolds that ends up costing us games. And, Tyreek Hill talked just a couple of days ago on Shannon Sharp's podcast about possibly facing the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill will absolutely light up this team right now for 200 yards.
Oh, big time.
He absolutely could. I mean, picking on some of these guys, some of these rookies, Tyreek Hill could absolutely put up 200 yards on this team. And it just scares me thinking about that, because I'm like, look, the Dolphins defense sucks ass. It is awful.
So bad.
There's no excuse not to beat the Dolphins if you're the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs can go out there and put up 35 on the Dolphins with no problem. Dolphins, though, could put up 38.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm scared about, because they have
between
amazing
guys like
weapons.
Waddle and Tyreek.
I don't think we have the secondary to necessarily slow down receiving group like the Dolphins present. And so that's something that bothers me going forward, as well as obviously as talented as the Bills are and stuff like that. Like I'm looking at this team right now, and this is the most worried I've been all year, because I'm starting to see some things unraveling and seeing signs of weakness that I don't know are fixable this year.
Yeah. Because we did
this
play
is
a
an
pretty
off-season
if you think about
situation.
it too, the games we played, it was a pretty heavy season up front, loaded up front. So there was a lot of learning, there was a lot of developing, and now you're starting to see some of that the rookies fatigue coming into play. We're 14 games in, they still have another month and a half to go, essentially. And I think I don't know. Hopefully they can get a second wind. I'm not as worried as the corners going to play. I'm more worried about the leadership in the back end with Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill. I don't see those guys stepping up at all.
Well, Thornhill, at the end of the day, is soft. He's proven that he's soft. And that's going to be the frustrating thing, is we don't have playmakers. Here's the thing. Some guys are soft. Deion Sanders, you could call him soft at one point in his career because of the way he played defense, but he was also a ball hawk. The guy did not want to tackle nobody, but he was a ball hawk on the back end. If you want to be soft, you better be a ball hawk. You better create turnovers. You better find ways to make plays.
Marcus Peters,
rip balls
Ramsey.
out. Sure. Yeah, Marcus Peters was a soft corner.
But he was
soft,
a playmaker.
But he was a playmaker. He would force turnovers. So, yes, as soft as Marcus Peters was, which was frustrating, the guy at least made turnovers, at least forced fumbles and had interceptions. We don't have anyone on this entire defense that does any of that.
No.
So you're soft and you're not getting turnovers. The Chiefs are dead last in the NFL in turnover ratio right now. We're -6 in the NFL right now, which is actually crazy. It's dead last in turnover ratio. I mean, that's some sad stuff right there. That we're not making plays. We don't have ball hawks. We don't have guys getting picks, and we have guys who are just playing soft.
What about the cause? Like maybe what's not helping them? Is it pass rush? You think we're not getting to the rush, giving those guys the opportunity?
The Chiefs are 4th right now in sacks in the NFL.
Okay, so that's not it.
So pass rush is happening, and a lot of it is due to blitz.
Yeah,
I mean, Spagnuolo's dialing up everything he can blitz-wise, and there's some people that are pissed off at Spagnuolo. Like, no, at the end of the day, right now, this is the players on the field. This is the players on the field right now that are just not playing up to the level that they need to be playing for a Super Bowl contender.
What about the linebacking core? What do you got there? Do you think Nick Bolton has stepped up this year? Do you think we're still seeing, a guy that needs to work?
Look,
or do you have any thoughts?
If we're going to worry about Nick Bolton, that is the least
that's what I said
of our concerns on this defense. Nick Bolton is totally
the
fine.
one thing I heard on the radio was about Nick Bolton. Somebody called in to complain about Nick Bolton.
No,
and I'm like,
if you're going to bitch about anything, Nick Bolton. You need to take that off your damn list of concerns. Nick Bolton is a fine player. He's a good player in most circumstances.
Yeah,
he's a very good linebacker. I'm very happy Nick Bolton's on this team. But if he's going to be the guy you're
going to blame,
like you need to reevaluate the way you watch football if that's the case.
Oh,
because Nick Bolton's not the problem on this team whatsoever. He's actually playing at a very good level. It's year 2 in the NFL, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Coming from a Mizzou team that perennially sucks ass. So Nick Bolton is a good player on this team. If and some people might think like, oh, he's not good in coverage or whatever. Like he's got his niche. He's not perfect in every category, right? But the guy can at least do a good job sideline to sideline making plays, and he makes plenty
Correct.
of TFLs.
Correct.
Which is what I care about a lot. Like, I mean, guys, there was a time where we thought Derek Johnson might be a bust, in this league, and like people were pissed off about Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson went on to be the most consistent, reliable linebacker the Chiefs have ever seen, and I love Derek Johnson. Like Nick Bolton is in year 2 of his NFL career. There is not a concern about Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is fine. He is not the problem. Like if you're going to complain about Nick Bolton, might as well complain about L'Jarius Sneed. Why is this Sneed getting more interceptions? Like I don't know. Like you might as well just bitch about something like stupid like that. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. So I don't want to hear nothing about Nick Bolton. Now, if we want to talk about consistency from Willie Gay, that's fine. I can hear from you. If you want to talk about like how you wish that Leo Chanel could provide something in coverage, fine. That's a topic you could bring up, I guess. If you want to talk about outside pass rush, I would love to, because that's the biggest drawback right now as far as D-line is concerned is getting that outside pass rush without blitzing. And that's not a thing that happens very often because Frank Clark doesn't do a whole lot, and Karlaftis is just a hustle guy who, hey, has hustled himself into 3.5 sacks now.
Yeah, he has.
Congratulations to that. So, but we don't see consistent pressure off the edge. Chris Jones has to be the one to make that happen, it seems like. So, but when I'm looking at this team and I'm trying to compare this team, this defense, to what we saw in the Super Bowl in 2019, that roster, to 2019 roster that won the Super Bowl in February of 2020, I am terrified. I'm terrified that I don't see the playmaking. I don't see the hunger. I don't see the turnovers that we saw that's comparable to what that team was. And I think it's going to cost us because at the end of the day, let's pretend for a minute here. The Chiefs offense is so damn good. Then you'll put 40 points up on everybody in the playoffs. They beat the Bills. They beat the Dolphins. They beat whoever else steps in front of them, the Bengals. Maybe they finally beat the Bengals.
Right.
You go to play the Eagles. You go to play the Eagles in the Super Bowl. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't covering A.J. Brown. You ain't covering Devontae Smith.
A.J. Brown?
No.
Oh, wait. Oh, there he goes again.
No, you ain't doing none of it. And so this might all be for naught because we have some young corners and some weak-ass safeties. That's my concern right now about this team. And it's unfortunate because there's really no excuse at this point. I mean, we should have a defense that's built up enough. We put enough money into it. Frank Clark's still eating up some cap space. I know he took a pay cut, but I mean, this team is just I don't think it's where it needs to be unless something clicks literally now. That's my concern with this team going forward. So that's my little rant about the Chiefs' current state.
Well, if they're gonna fix it, this is the time of the year this time of the schedule to fix it, because you got Texans, you got Seattle, you have the Broncos again, you have the Raiders again. It's the time of the year to fix it. If you're going to catch any kind of momentum in the backfield, in that back secondary, this is the time.
I totally agree. They got to figure it out quick, though.
Yeah, if you're going to make adjustments, do it now.
Here's the thing. You're going to see that cakewalk of a schedule, and then guess what? First week of the playoffs, welcome.
Here's Cincy.
Welcome to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Welcome to playing the Dolphins. Now all of a sudden you got a good luck stopping everything they got going on. Yeah. Because that's just not going to be a thing. Like it's not going to be pretty.
So if we're the 2 seed, then we would play the 7th.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that could be literally anybody right now.
Right. Which the 7th seed, the Chiefs should take care of that no matter what. If that's what it comes down to. If this is how these things unfold.
But see, if we get a high-powered offense and stuff like that, so like if we face a team like the Jets, I still see that causing issues.
I'm not worried about that.
No?
Jets? No. I'm not worried about the Jets. I'm not I'd be worried about the Chargers than I would the Jets.
That's fair. 3 times in a year.
Honestly, I've been worried about the Chargers than I am the Jets, so I'll put that out there on that one. But I'm looking at this situation and it's scary because Jerry Jeudy just had 3 touchdowns on this defense.
After his return from injury. That's the worst part of it all.
And the Chiefs are just not making enough plays at the end of the day. Willie Gay did have a great play.
Hey, what's going on?
Past game. So
let me find out who
Facebook user said, "Sup, boys." Facebook user, what are you doing over here?
Find out who that is. Give me a second.
Well, Tanner, we need to dive into our easy money picks of the week.
Did we ever get what's his face? Oh, it's Mikey. Mikey, what's up, dude? Thanks for hopping on.
Welcome
Mikey Henninger. He's the one who does the Basement Brew Fans Football.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you guys heard of it at all. If you go check my Monday night episode of the Buffoons and Botkins, I even show you the heat map from last week, how cool it is, and even the deal going on. So go check it out. Okay, go check out my Buffoons and Botkins, kind of towards the middle, right before Jonathan hops on. I show you the tool. So I'm giving you a chance to win playoffs, guys, but it's Mikey's tool. So, and it's $1. Okay, go check it out.
So, Tanner, it's just me and you this week. So, JG is officially out of the picks for the week. That's good news because he's going to save you guys some money by not betting at all.
That might be okay for him after this week.
Yeah. But, hey, the good news is I think we both have picks. We're going to have 2 picks each, right, Tanner?
Correct.
2 picks each. Okay, give us an update on how we're doing for the season and how we did last week.
Alrighty. So here's what I got here. I got JG. He had the Raiders 6.5 favorites last week, Giants +7, and Detroit -2. He went 1 for 2 in that one. So that puts him at 9-11 for the season. Mike had the Browns at +6.5, and Dallas/Houston game over the 45.5. Mike went 1 for 1, or I guess 1 for 2. So he is now 11-4 on the season. Myself, I had Minnesota money line thinking they were going to do something for once, but I just felt like it was a weird game, but they lost. So I had the Panthers, which these guys, Jason's not here, but these guys kind of snarked at, if you remember last week.
Look, we just don't like the Panthers, Tanner.
Oh, why'd you pick the Panthers?
We just dislike the Panthers.
The Panthers won. I picked the Panthers money line.
Yeah, they won. Yeah.
Okay, so I went 1 for 1, 9 for 17.
All right. Well, let's make up for some of those things this week, because the goal is to go 2-0, right?
Every week.
Which I did most weeks until recently. But 11-4 is not bad, right? 11-4 is a good winning record I've got going for me so far. So I have 2 picks, both NFL. I know, Tanner, sometimes you like to dive into the NCAA football here and there. I'm hoping, praying to God you don't freaking do that again this week. Drives us absolutely insane. My first one for you guys, right off the bat, we got Lions and Jets. This game is basically a pick 'em, but we have Lions at +1 right now on the books. And I would love to take the Lions at +1 on this one against the Jets. I think that you have to understand that you have Jamison Williams, who's now officially back and integrated into the offense, an offense that was already putting up great points this season. You have a Jets situation who is unstable at the moment of their offense and quarterback situation, also relying on what we talked about earlier, Mr. Zonovan at the running back position to be able to make plays. There's too many questions on the Jets side of things for me to have any faith in them whatsoever.
Mike White healthy enough to play? Right. Is he going to play the whole game?
There's too many problems. Yeah. Too many problems. Meanwhile, the Lions feel very comfortable, and they've proven they can beat good teams too. I mean, they just took care of business this past week, didn't they?
They did. They
against the Vikings. So the Lions, for me, absolutely is the pick at +1. That is my first pick of the week for an easy money bet of the week. My second one here is another one. Very similar circumstance. Actually, it's the exact same circumstance. Another +1 for the Raiders and the Patriots this coming Sunday. And I like the Raiders here. Raiders +1, Lions +1. Raiders +1 on this one makes a lot of sense to me. I think that you're seeing things come back into play for the Raiders offensively. You're starting to see some playmakers that they were missing for a while coming back to the offense. That's going to help a lot. And it's a team playing with a lot to prove. It's a team that's playing like, this is their last chance. This is a coach holding on to his job in some ways. It's a lot of frustration, but they've also improved as the year has gone on. I feel like the Patriots are just going to struggle with keeping up with the Raiders and what they can do offensively because they're not as explosive. You got your Tyquan Thornton out there for the Patriots who they don't use.
Correct.
But yet he runs a 4.3. Mac Jones can't throw the ball more than 20 yards, so it doesn't freaking matter. You got the Raiders on the other hand, and I think there's too much talent with the Raiders that they are going to take care of business, by the way, at home against the Patriots. So I like both Raiders at home, Lions away. Both +1. This is an easy pick for me on both of these games. I can't wait to see how it unfolds. Really, I'm excited to see it, and I'm actually rooting for the Raiders to not suck this week. For the first time in a while.
As long as they pass to Devontae.
They will.
So, all right. So here's mine here. I got the Thursday night game, actually. The over 43 currently for the San Fran-Seattle game. Kenneth Walker is going to be back for Seattle. It's going to kind of boost that offense again and get that back and rolling against a great San Francisco defense. But I think it's going to be Brock Purdy in week 3, third week for him. Kind of banged up a little bit. No Debo. So I think we're going to see maybe, the defense start getting tired late in this game for San Francisco. And we're going to see some late points pop up here. So I like the over of 43 for this game here on Thursday night. Normally I don't bet Thursday night's game, but I liked it too much. So, and then the other one I like, by the way, Kenny Pickett get released yet?
Released?
Or is he good to go? Do we hear that yet?
I don't know that he's good to go. I wouldn't put any faith in that necessarily.
Okay. That's fine. Here's a team I do not trust right now at all this year that I'm going to go ahead and root to lose. Even though Mariota's hurt, but give me the Falcons money line at +184 to beat the New Orleans Saints. Yes, they don't have Mariota, but shouldn't really matter. Desmond Ridder should be fine. But I like that money line game for the Falcons, especially a team fighting for a division, fighting for a playoff spot yet. New Orleans, they're just beat up and just not good, as we saw. So give me the Falcons money line at +184.
I don't hate your picks this week, Tanner. I could see at least the reasoning this week on both of those picks. So I don't hate it. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to do it, but I can at least see your reasoning, so I appreciate that. But if Desmond Ritter sucks, then it's gonna be over.
It's
And it's gonna be
over.
sad. It's gonna look, the Saints at the end of the day, they got Alvin Kamara still, and they got the GOAT. They got the GOAT on that team too.
Can I give you one more?
You're gonna go college, aren't you?
I'm gonna get Oregon State minus
Frickin'.
7.5, baby. Minus 7.5 against Florida this weekend on the 17th. So give me Oregon State covering a 7.5 spread.
I knew you were gonna bet that anyway, but I wish you would have said it earlier because I can't stand it when you throw those college games in during our easy money picks of the week.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Although I think I agree with you on that pick. So only one I wouldn't touch that Falcons one personally. But the other ones, yeah, I can get with those. That's
Why
fine.
not?
That's
What's
fine.
wrong
I'm
with
not
it?
touching that shit.
You know what? There's another game in here that I just feel like
No.
a huge letdown's coming. I'm not going to bet it
Yeah.
right now, but I know Kyler Murray's out, but I really feel like Colt McCoy can take down the Denver team.
Sure, it's possible.
I really feel like right now it's a plus
Sure.
128 at best bet right
128.
now, but I'd probably throw a little money on that plus 128.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, what's the line on that?
I'll tell you here. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's totally possible.
I kind of
not
like
like
that
it's
game.
not well at this point. Colt McCoy, Russell Wilson are
It's a 3,
are gonna
2.5
be equal
So-
anyway as far as their abilities.
So the best bet's minus 2.5 for Denver, plus 3 for Arizona.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
You could take a stab at that one. I could get.
I don't
that
think it
for sure.
hates. I don't hate it.
Well,
so.
Tanner, before we get out of here, so your playoffs do begin this weekend in my league. How are you feeling? You feeling comfortable? You feeling good about the situation?
I feel good. The crappy week's out of the way that happened last week, so we should be back on schedule. There should be a good game with Diggs and versus the Dolphins. This time, Diggs should get a lot of targets. Devontae should have a good rebound game. Kenneth Walker's back. My only issue is, running back. I got a few guys I picked up, and I'm kind of with Scott. I don't trust Swift, so I got to figure that out. And then the other side, my Roto-Baller League, I currently have a first-round bye, so I'm not concerned with that one this week. So, and then my ESPN's a free league, so whatever happens. So, but yeah, I feel good this week. Going and play, got some healthy guys back, got some matchups. Looking to be a lot of passing matchups, so we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. Well, I want to say thank you once again to Scott for coming on, hanging out, talking fantasy with us for a while. JG will be back, of course, next week as a plan. So we'll have to ask him about his Las Vegas experience.
Christmas episode.
That's right, Christmas episode. That'll be, let's see, December 20. Is that the 20th?
The 21st.
21st?
Yep.
Episode. Very, very nice. All right.
So that'll be good. We'll do some Christmas. I don't know. We'll theme it around Christmas. So
yeah, we'll talk about Santa Claus and what's in our stockings.
maybe we'll give you guys some presents.
Some presents maybe that'll help and win some money. Maybe that'd be nice.
That's right.
So that's the goal for you guys. So, all right. Well, with all that said, hope you guys are fulfilled. Hope you fill your pockets with money off these bets this week. And I'll see y'all on the next one.
See you guys.